What if the greatest obstacle to your success isn't external, but internal? In today's world, ego has become a pervasive challenge, impacting many lives. But what exactly is ego? Some see it as pride or arrogance, while others understand it as an inflated sense of self, the ever-present I that often takes control. Do you feel that your ego might be standing in the way of your goals? Do you struggle to bounce back after setbacks or find that life sometimes feels out of control? If so, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday is the perfect guide for you. This book is designed to help you recognize and manage your ego, which can often be your biggest adversary. Through practical advice and real-life stories, you'll learn techniques to keep your ego in check by practicing self-reflection and humility. This journey isn't just about overcoming ego. It's about embracing a mindset that values growth over self-importance. You're not alone in facing these challenges. Ego is a natural part of human experience, but learning to manage it is crucial because unchecked, it has the potential to lead us toward failure. Your success is in your hands. Don't let ego be the thing that holds you back. This book offers valuable insights and tools to help you control your ego, creating a path toward meaningful growth and resilience. So let's dive into the core lessons from Ego is the Enemy and discover how to overcome ego to unlock your true potential. At the start of any new journey, we're often excited, yet a bit apprehensive. To soothe this unease, we tend to seek comfort and reassurance externally rather than looking within. We crave attention and recognition, yet it's often easier to talk about our plans than to act on them. We mistakenly equate silence with weakness and feel the need to display our strength through words. However, silence is a powerful quality, mastered by only a few. Excessive talk weakens our resolve and detracts from the actions needed to fulfill our goals. Silence, on the other hand, reflects self-confidence and inner strength. Psychologically, the more we talk about our goals, the less likely we are to complete them, as talking can create an illusion of achievement, reducing our drive to take real action. This is why it's essential to control our impulse to talk and avoid getting caught in the trap of idle chatter. Silence can bring out our best performance by keeping us focused on the task at hand. Let's look at a story to understand this better. This story is about activist Upton Sinclair, who ran for governor of California in 1934. During his campaign, Sinclair took an unusual step. He published a short book titled Governor of California and How I Ended Poverty. In this book, he wrote in the past tense, as if he had already been elected, and successfully implemented his policies to end poverty. Sinclair believed he had a unique ability to connect with the public, but he didn't anticipate that this idea would backfire. By revealing his strategies, he inadvertently gave his opponents an advantage. Worse, he began to lose interest in the campaign itself, as the book had created a sense of premature achievement in his mind. Although his book sold millions of copies, Sinclair's campaign ended in failure. He lost the election by 250,000 votes, and he had effectively talked himself out of his own goal. His book had created a mental illusion that he had already achieved what he set out to do, yet he hadn't become governor or taken any concrete action. Caught in a web of his own words, Sinclair's efforts collapsed, showing the world how crucial it is to keep words in check to truly accomplish anything. If you want to succeed in your work, you need to avoid excessive talk and work in quiet focus. Speaking about your plans can trick your mind into believing you've already achieved them, ultimately hindering you from taking real action. To be or to do. In life, No matter what happens, strive to stay true to who you are, authentic and free from pretense. When you move forward without ego, genuine in your actions and intentions, there are no limits to what you can achieve. A person who is honest with themselves will never be fake with others. When you decide to pursue something, don't do it for fame or to build a name for yourself. Instead, let your motivation be the desire to contribute meaningfully to the lives of others. Stay true to yourself and your values, and focus on adding real value to the world. Let's illustrate this with an example. One of the most influential figures in modern warfare, John Boyd, was a brilliant fighter pilot known for his ability to defeat opponents in under 40 seconds. Despite his extraordinary skills, he was never promoted beyond the rank of colonel. Boyd served as a lead instructor at Nellis Air Force Base and was deeply involved in the development of F-15 and F-16 fighter jets, projects that were very close to his heart. His goal was not personal recognition, but to serve his country as an advisor and make a difference in its defense. Boyd often provided invaluable advice to the Secretary of Defense in private meetings, but never sought credit for his contributions. He didn't publish a book about his accomplishments, nor was any military base named after him. Boyd wanted to work diligently and honestly, without seeking attention or praise. He believed that his work's impact on his country was more important than any personal rank or accolades. This story illustrates that promotions and recognition do not always equate to true value. Your purpose in life should be bigger than yourself. When you act with selflessness, aiming to uplift others, extraordinary success often follows. Extraordinary achievements come to those who are motivated not by ego, but by a purpose that transcends personal gain. Become a student. The primary role of a student is to learn, to grow in life, embrace the mindset of a lifelong student. Constantly seek out new knowledge, especially in areas where you feel uncertain or uninformed. This approach broadens your understanding across all aspects of life and keeps you adaptable. Often, when we achieve a certain level of success, we become complacent, thinking we already know everything we need to know. However, this mindset can quickly lead to a decline. True growth comes from actively seeking feedback from teachers and mentors without complaining about how strict or challenging the learning process might be. Recognizing the importance of feedback and the humility it requires gives a student their strength. To truly progress, seek guidance from those who have deeper knowledge and experience than you. Accepting that others have insights to offer allows you to learn from their wisdom. The day you believe you have nothing left to learn is the day your growth stops. To be truly great, and to remain so, you must always approach life with the spirit of a student. Healthy self-criticism and self-motivation also help keep our ego in check. Let's understand this with a story. Kirk Hammett, a guitarist known for his exceptional dedication to learning, was barely 20 years old when he was chosen as the lead guitarist for Metallica. Shortly after, he performed in his first major show. Despite years of playing guitar, Kirk was humble and grounded, recognizing that he still had much to learn. He began searching for a teacher to improve his skills. In his hometown of San Francisco, he found an exceptional teacher named Joe Satriani. Joe's music style was entirely different from Kirk's, but Kirk intentionally chose him as his mentor to learn something completely new. Joe quickly identified Kirk's weaknesses and helped him address them. Kirk was like a sponge, absorbing everything Joe taught him. Unlike many students, he paid close attention to each instruction and always tried to improve. For 2 years, He accepted every piece of feedback positively and continuously worked on his skills. As a result, Kirk eventually gained a reputation as a great guitarist. How did he achieve this? Kirk put his ego aside and accepted that someone else had a greater knowledge of music. By embracing this humility, he was able to learn invaluable lessons from Joe, ultimately mastering his craft. If Kirk hadn't remained a student, he wouldn't have improved. He became a famous guitarist, not by clinging to fame, but by embracing the learning mindset that took him from being famous to being truly great. Had he believed that fame meant he knew everything, he would never have reached greatness. This story reminds us that we must keep learning, humbly acknowledging that others know more than us. As the saying goes, when you perform, perform like a master. But when you learn, learn with the humility of a student. The danger of early pride. Pride can become your biggest obstacle, blocking the path between you and your goals. Believing that you are better than everyone else is a dangerous mindset, and unchecked ego has the power to destroy you. Let's explore this through the story of Benjamin Franklin. At the age of 18, Franklin returned to his hometown of Boston after 7 months away. By then, he had earned a good amount of money and returned in grand style, dressed in a new suit and proudly wearing a watch. His face displayed a sense of pride as he began showing off his success to his family and everyone around him. One day, Franklin met an old acquaintance named Cotton Mather, a respected figure in society. As they walked and talked, Mather suddenly called out, "Stoop! Stoop!" But Franklin, too busy boasting, didn't notice a low ceiling beam ahead and hit his head hard on it. Mather then said to him, "Your head has become so high that it was bound to get hit." This incident struck Franklin deeply, making him realize how his ego was taking control. He began to confront his pride, recognizing how it was turning him into someone he didn't want to be. This lesson applies to all of us. When pride starts to take hold, life often finds a way to bring us back down. Ego breeds arrogance and distances us from humility. Therefore, keep your ego in check and strive to live with humility. This approach will keep you grounded and help you navigate life's challenges with grace. Don't tell yourself a story. When you give your best effort, success is bound to follow. This is why it's crucial to focus on every small detail in your work, ensuring top-quality results. However, when we embark on something new, be it a job or a business, we often start building an imaginary story in our minds, envisioning how things will unfold and the success we'll achieve. This mental story can be dangerous because it's purely in our imagination and not yet reality. Still, it can feed our ego, making us prematurely proud. Let's understand this through the story of Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh, a renowned football coach and general manager, took on the challenge of coaching one of the worst football teams. In just 3 years, he transformed this losing team into Super Bowl champions. His success was the result of intense focus on even the smallest details. Walsh instilled discipline not only on the field, but also off it. He taught his players to keep their locker room spotless and prohibited smoking, cursing, or fighting. Newspapers began to hail Walsh as a genius, and stories of his success spread widely. However, Walsh paid no attention to the praise, choosing to ignore it entirely because he knew it could lead to arrogance. Unfortunately, his players were not immune to the hype. Over time, they grew overconfident, and their self-assurance turned into complacency. This overconfidence significantly affected their performance, leading them to lose 12 out of 22 games. This illustrates what happens when we start taking credit too soon. When these imaginary stories of success settle into our minds, we begin to put in less effort, and the quality of our work declines. The 49 ERs had to work hard to regain their lost standards, a hard lesson in the dangers of early pride. This is why Walsh never let the media's flattering titles get to his head. Talking highly of yourself can make you arrogant, overconfident, and ultimately less hard-working. To avoid falling into this trap, stay grounded, focus on your efforts, and let success speak for itself without creating imaginary stories of victory. What's important to you? To achieve real success, it's essential to understand what truly matters to you. Yet, human nature often leads us to be dissatisfied with what we have and constantly chase what others possess, aiming to have more than everyone else. We often start our journey focused on what's truly important, but once we achieve it, ego begins to take root. We start saying yes to opportunities we don't actually need, thinking they will make us more successful, but in reality, they only pull us further from our true path. This mindset traps us in an illusory world, disconnected from our goals. Let's understand this with the story of Ulysses S. Grant. After the American Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant became a highly influential figure. Although he had little interest in politics, he initially chose a career as an Army general. However, at one point, he decided to run for the highest political office, the presidency. Grant was elected, but his presidency turned out to be one of the most corrupt and problematic terms in American history. After 2 difficult terms, he left office. Seeking to secure his financial future, he partnered with a financier named Ferdinand Ward, investing all his money in a brokerage venture. Unfortunately, Ward defrauded Grant, leaving him bankrupt. Grant's downfall stemmed from his desire to compete with wealthy businessmen rather than following his genuine interests. To pay off debts, he even had to use his war memorabilia as collateral. His final years were spent battling throat cancer and struggling to provide for his family by writing memoirs. Grant lost everything because he allowed his ego to overshadow his true passions, diverting him from the path that once brought him fulfillment. Instead of focusing on what mattered to him, he became entangled in competing with others, which ultimately led to his downfall. This story reminds us that losing sight of what's truly important and letting ego drive us can lead to devastating consequences. Focus on what genuinely matters and let that guide your actions, not the allure of what others have or the desire to prove yourself to the world. Alive, time or dead time? Failure is an inevitable part of life's journey. When you face setbacks, don't let them hold you back. Each time you stumble, find the courage to rise again. It's natural to feel angry or discouraged when things don't go as planned, but don't get stuck in those emotions. New opportunities are waiting for you. The author of this book explains that there are 2 kinds of time, dead time and alive time. Dead time is the period we spend passively waiting, while alive time is the time we use to learn, grow, and stay productive. Many people fall into the trap of dead time, but to succeed, you should strive to stay in alive time as much as possible. Consider the story of Malcolm X, a famous criminal who later became a respected minister and activist. In his youth, Malcolm, known as Detroit Red, was deeply involved in crime, leading a gang that engaged in everything from drug dealing to robbery and even murder. He lived fearlessly, unafraid of dying or killing. Eventually, Malcolm was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison when he was just 21. His life had become a disgrace, not only to himself, but to society as well. Confined within a small prison cell, he faced the bleak reality of a decade behind bars. Yet, it was in this captivity that Malcolm began to transform. He decided to make use of every second of his sentence by immersing himself in the books available in the prison library. Malcolm studied philosophy, religion, and history, using his time in prison to rebuild himself. He didn't dwell on his failures, but chose alive time over dead time, making each moment count. By the time he left prison, Malcolm X had not only changed his life, but also went on to inspire countless others as a civil rights activist, dedicating himself to the betterment of humanity. This story reminds us of the saying, "It's never too late to turn a new leaf." Don't ever think the time to change has passed. As long as you have the will to change, the right time is now. Choose a lifetime. Use each moment as an opportunity to grow, even in the face of challenges. Draw the line. At some point, we all experience failure, but that doesn't mean we should let our ego take control. Making poor decisions in reaction to failure only worsens the situation. Each morning offers a new opportunity to start fresh. No matter the circumstances, strive to uphold your character and self-respect. Problems are temporary, and even if you fail, it's not the end. Ego can make us feel ashamed of failure, but this mindset is flawed. Let's learn from a story that illustrates this lesson. John DeLorean, a well-known car manufacturer, faced a steady decline in his business. Instead of resigning and accepting the setback, DeLorean made the decision to save his company through illegal means. He invested in a 220-pound cocaine deal in a desperate attempt to save his finances. The consequences were severe. He was arrested for a $60 million drug deal, marking the end of his career. This incident led to public disgrace, and DeLorean became a figure of shame and scandal. In the end, he was the architect of his own downfall. No one else was to blame. He allowed his ego to turn a difficult situation into a catastrophe. When DeLorean realized his business was failing, he could have chosen to close it down with dignity. Instead, he viewed failure as a source of shame, a mistake that ultimately cost him everything. This story reminds us to accept failure without letting ego distort our choices. Draw a line between resilience and desperation, and know when to let go. Failure is not a source of shame. It's an opportunity to learn and grow, as long as we face it with integrity. The effort is enough. Never let selfishness or greed take control over you. Aim to do good, not only for yourself, but for others as well. In life, there will be times when, despite all your best efforts, the outcome isn't what you expected. Sometimes, you may find yourself in situations where you have no control, and others may even take credit for your work. In such moments, ego can weaken you, but maintaining a humble mindset is essential. Rather than attaching yourself to the outcome, focus on valuing your effort, as that holds the greatest significance. Belisarius, one of history's greatest military generals, exemplifies this lesson. He fought many battles for the Byzantine Empire and led the mission to reclaim Rome from barbarian occupation. Yet, despite his victories, his achievements were never celebrated publicly. Emperor Justinian grew increasingly suspicious of Belisarius's popularity and ultimately ordered historians to tarnish his reputation and legacy. According to scholars, Belisarius was stripped of his wealth and titles. But Justinian didn't stop there. He went as far as having Belisarius blinded and forced to beg on the streets. Driven by jealousy and insecurity, Justinian could not tolerate Belisarius's growing fame. Despite this grave injustice, Belisarius never complained or allowed ego and bitterness to cloud his character. He understood that he couldn't control others' opinions of him, and he chose to remain true to his principles. Serving his country was his highest duty, and he didn't seek any reward or recognition in return. What made Belisarius remarkable was his unwavering integrity in the face of adversity. Even when treated unfairly, he stayed on the right path, devoted to his work without expecting fame or rewards. His story reminds us that true greatness lies in the effort and dedication we put into our actions, not in the recognition we receive. Conclusion. In this book, you've learned that talking too much about your plans before achieving them can reduce your chances of success. When we vocalize our goals prematurely, our mind may start to believe we've already achieved them, causing us to lose interest and motivation. You've also learned the importance of staying honest and grounded. Humility keeps us connected to our roots, even after we achieve success. Often, achieving a goal can lead to ego, making us think we know everything and have nothing left to learn. This is a major cause of downfall. Remaining a student is essential. Learning has no limits, and everything you learn contributes to your growth in some way. Embrace the mindset that others have knowledge you may not, and that you can gain valuable insights from them. Avoid building imaginary stories of success in your mind, as this can breed arrogance, which is detrimental to your future. Stay humble and keep doing what you love. Failure is a universal experience. Making mistakes isn't wrong, but failing to learn from them and repeating them is. Remember, you can always start anew, regardless of setbacks. Failure isn't something to be ashamed of. Rather, it's a step forward toward success. Sometimes we may take the wrong step, but there's no need for embarrassment. Keep your ego in check. When you do, many of life's challenges will naturally become easier, and the path to your goals will clear. With humility, resilience, and a dedication to lifelong learning, you can overcome obstacles and achieve true success. Thank you for listening to this audiobook summary of Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. We hope it provided valuable insights on overcoming ego and achieving true success through humility and resilience. If you enjoyed this summary, be sure to check out more of our content for inspiring book summaries and life-changing lessons. Until next time, keep learning and growing.